This video is part of our frequently asked questions series. Today we're going to talk about oiling your machine. I have the 770 QE, so if you have an 8 series or a different series of Bernina, you will want to be sure and follow your dealer's directions or consult your manual on how your machine is to be oiled. So today I'm just going to show you on my machine, and I'm going to start by taking off my presser foot, and I'm going to take my needle off. This is a good time to change your needle whenever you oil your machine. If you haven't recently, I'm going to take off my slide-on table. Get that out of the way. And remove my stitch plate so we can get down in and see where things need to be cleaned. And take out my bobbin. And I'm going to remove my hook. So we'll set that down here, and I think I'm going to move you down a little bit so you can see a little better. Move you down and scoot you over. How do you feel about that? Maybe down just a little more. There we go. Okay, so now we're ready to start cleaning. Up here, I like to use an old mascara brush. The bristles seem to pick stuff up and the lint sticks to the brush and doesn't get swept off down into the machine, and makes it just, a little bit less likely that something really bad would get down in there. And then I can take my mascara brush and wipe it off with my fingers, but you can see how much stuff I got out of there, and plus there's a lot of it laying on top there that you can see. And when I'm working down in here, I have a little piece of t-shirt here that I keep in it's just a cut up old cotton t-shirt. I keep that in my little container, that I keep all my cleaning things in. And if there's a little extra oil on something, or dust or dirt, I like to kind of get that cleaned off. And this is a serger brush, but you can use the brush that came with your Bernina. But back in here, there's a groove, and you can see the bristles of my brush go down in that groove and come around. I go around the whole thing, and sometimes I'll get a pretty good chunk of lint out of there. Not today, but once in a while, there'll be some good ones come out of there. And so now we're going to oil. There's a couple of different ways that I have seen this done. Some will say to put a drop of oil and run it around the edge of the race, and some will say to put a drop of oil right here on this front silver spot. So I believe either one of those ways would be just fine. And when you're oiling your machine, you need to take into account how dry the air is in your house and how much you are using your machine. Are you just sewing patchwork, or and are you doing that for 8 or 12 hours a day? Are you using your machine for a lot of high-speed embroidery using the module? You'll want to just use common sense. If your machine is being used a lot, it needs oiled a lot. If your house is dry, it might need more oil than, a better environment, more moist air would be. But one thing I do want to tell you about the oil is that it is a very special, specific oil. I believe it's a silicone mixture. And so if you try to use some kind of oil on your Bernina that did not come from your dealer, you are running an awfully high risk. You can damage your machine, you can void your warranty, you can cause so much trouble when it's just so simple to pick up a tube of oil from your dealer. You can even have your dealer mail it to you if you don't want to go in the store. So that's something to think about. And so inside the hook here, back to our oiling, try to get this so you can see it. But you can see there are two little felt pads in there. Let me see if I can find my stylus so you can see them a little better. Here we go. Here is a little felt pad, and here is a little felt pad. So you're going to put a drop of oil on both of those, and I've already done that. So, you know, if they're very dry, you can put 2 drops. I usually just put 1, but of course that's, again, something you need to take into consideration on how much you're using your machine. And now we're gonna put this hook back in, and we're gonna do it really simply and really easily. My machine has got my take-up lever for the top thread is in the highest position, and I've put my hook on my closure here, the hook closure, and I've lined up this little hole right here with this indentation where one of the felt pads goes. And then there's a hole in the back, which you can see through there, the hole in the back. And here it is right here, this hole. And I line that up with the silver marking on the inside of the machine. So we'll line these up again since I picked it up and moved it. But down inside here, there is the silver mark, and my hole is right here. And I have this hole over here and this indentation lined up. And we're going to just put this in. You just set it in there. If it doesn't go in immediately, you might have to just wiggle it just a little bit, or you can turn your hand wheel just slightly and it should pop right in. And close the cover and put your bobbin back in. And when you're putting your bobbin in, you want to be sure not to push on the right side, push on the left side. You'll push the right side when you want to take it out. So you push it in on the left side. And if you want to, you can trim your thread. This little thread cutter here leaves the exact amount of thread that's needed to pull up the first stitch. So now it's just a matter of putting everything back together, and I'm back sewing. So I'll put my table back on, my slide off table. Make sure that's in place good. Put my needle back on. When you're putting on a needle, make sure you have the flat side to the back. Let me scoot you up a little bit. So the flat side of the needle here, it goes to the back. So we'll turn it, and I just use my fingernail as kind of a little ledge there to hold it. And I tighten the screw just finger tight. And then I use my little screwdriver and I tighten it just about a quarter turn. And you can strip the threads on this, so don't over tighten it if you can resist that. Put a presser foot back on. And this is a D foot, so with a D foot you always use the dual feed. And we're ready to get back in business and sew.